Hello everyone, remember for the sharing. I hope you can. Uh, I hope you can see my screen. So this is my first time presenting for the audience from the Philippines, so I'm very excited today to be here, even though it would be better if I could actually be in the Philippines. But for now, it is still quite cool that we have gathered here today from three countries, actually, because you are in the Philippines and I am presenting to you from Sofia, Bulgaria, where the where the headquarters of Cal Group is, and my colleague Han is presenting from China. So we have gathered here from across the ocean today, which is quite cool. So I'm not going to waste any more time, and I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the story of Cow Group and how it all began. Basically, I think that most of you at this webinar already know who Cows Group is, the Vray maker of Richly. But actually, we're trying to be much more than that. We're trying to create more food than that in order for us um, to be helpful for artists to be able to create and to create the thing that is as close as possible to what they have in their mind, whether that is something very true to life or physically correct, or whether that is the wildest imagination possible out there. Um, and actually, this is the vision of all of the company, not only of our managers and CEOs and the founders. To be honest with you, when I started working at Cloud Group around 5 years ago, I was very impressed by this whole spirit of all of the colleagues and the desire, the hard work, the creativity. And actually, most of the people who work here at Sophia in the office of Chaos Group, they are big fans of Chaos Group, and so am I, and so is my colleague Han, who will be presenting later. So we hope to be able to transfer you in that some of that spirit that we have for Chaos Group. Um, so it all started with these two guys. This is our CTO on the left side, CEO on the left side, Peter, and on the right side is Guado, the CEO, the CEO. So they started back in 1997 when they were very young. They were at university. I think they met at the campus university, and of course, they were both studying something related to software engineering. And over the years now, they have kind of separated their roles a bit. So Peter is handling more the business side, and Vlado is handling more the software developing side. He is the junior software mind here. So when they were younger, Vlado was a guy wearing glasses and staying on the computer loads of time. And people noticed in him some things, wanted to do business with him. It seemed like was reluctant, but and
Hi, Miss
he,
Evelina.
yes.
Sorry, the audio is not clear for everyone.
Oh, it's not clear. Did it start being clear just now, or it has been like that for all the time?
Yeah, the echo in your background.
Let me see. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay, so should I start from the beginning or just continue?
Continue.
All right. So the first product that Vlado Vida came up with, that was actually Phoenix, not V-Ray. Phoenix is simulation software. It's for simulation of flood, fire, liquids, explosions, etc. And later on, they came up with V-Ray, V-Ray for 3ds Max, that would be, and that became their most successful software. Um, and from that moment, the company started growing and we started opening other offices. So currently we have four. There's one, the headquarters in Sofia, Bulgaria. There is another one in LA, the USA, and then in Seoul in Korea, and one in Tokyo, Japan. Um, the company has grown to more than 300 people. I believe it's actually close to 400 right now. There is, oh, excuse me, there is more than 300 partners around the world, local partners. There is more than 100,000 Vray licensed users, and there is actually 50,000 more student licenses being used right now actively in the world, and there is more than 1,000 university or training institutions that teach Vray as part of their curriculum. So over these years, Vray, from this small company that Vlado and Peter started in their homes, in their apartments more than 20 years ago, has grown to be a global leader, actually, one of the top in their field. And actually, I think that most the last data we have is that 98 out of the top architecture firms use Vray. It could be 95, depending on what statistic you're using, but it doesn't matter. It's just most of the top architecture companies do use Vray in their portfolio. And this has made Vray to become an industry standard. So if you would like to get a job at a top design studio, you would most likely be able to work with Vray. And with the wide portfolio of Vray, that is, let me just give you a look. It has grown a lot over the years. So there's Vray for Max and Maya is what we started with, and then there was SketchUp and Rhino, and after that Modo, Unreal, Nuke, Formzy, Revit, Houdini, Cinema 4D, and others. And we have now released the Vray collection, which includes in it all of these products. And with one license, you can get access to all of them. And also the other products that we make and work on have increased. Let me just give you a look. So it's not only Vray that we work with, actually, and Phoenix, the first product that I was telling you about. We also work on PD Player, which is a video player, on VR scans, which some of you may have heard of. VR scans is basically a service where you clients send us a physical material, like for example fabric or leather or plastic, or just any physical material. We put it in this huge scanning machine that takes around 80,000 photos of it under different lights and from different angles. And then we take all this information and we turn this into a digital material that can be used in Vray, and which is very, very true to real life. It is basically, if you have a picture of this piece of fabric and then the rendered in Vray scan material of this fabric, you would probably not be able to say which one is the true one and which one is the render. There's also a huge library part of their scans, which contains a lot of the materials that we have been scanning through the time. Of course, some of them we're not allowed to upload, but there is still a big library. I think it's over 500 materials right now that you can use. We also have the Chaos Cloud. So basically, you can now render in the Chaos Cloud with one button, which is inside the Vray UI, and very easy and simple and quick to do. So you can have basically your supercomputer in your Vray. And we have recently released Chaos Vantage, which I'm going to mention more about a little bit later. But let's get back to this cloud and to this slide and the last part of it, the research and development bit. So actually, we have our own R&D lab here, which is working with a lot of companies, hardware and software out there, on shaping the future of some of these technologies that we develop, on shaping the future of virtual reality, virtual humans, digital design, etc. So we're trying to actually publish a lot of materials on this matter. You can find them on our website. And this is some of the partners that we work with. Of course, that would be Autodesk, Trimble, Foundry, and McNeil. There is also NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and Google, and these are the main ones that we cooperate with. And I have here taken some of the biggest customers that we have so that I can show you what a wide range of industries they are in. So there is, of course, the architecture, there is art biz, there is automotive companies, there is companies that make different products like shoes, like furniture, like Lego, etc. And of course, there's a lot of VFX studios. You can see here some very big names like Digital Domain and DreamWorks and Blur Studios, for example. Um, so we work with a very wide range of industries. This is mostly the ones that we are popular in. So that will be architecture, interior design, product design, automotive design, VFX, and gaming. And I will go quickly through all of them. So in architecture, we're quite a popular tool. So here it was built for architecture. You can do anything with it. You can render anything from the polymathing models to the photorealistic images. You can add animation. You can have VR for the final design. And now with the Chaos Vantage, you can actually have the real time for the final show to the customers. In interior design, it is very widely used because of the feature of photorealism, would be quite useful in there. So you can be very, very close to the real thing. And actually, one of our most famous customers in this respect is IKEA. And maybe some of you don't know, but actually, a lot of these photos in the IKEA catalog are not catalogs, but they are rendered. Um, and I have taken out some other big customers of ours that are in these fields that you can see some pretty famous names that I'm sure you have heard of, like Zaha did, of course, and Arup and KPF and Foster and Partners, and of course there would be Splend Opera, etc., etc. I'm not going to read all of them for you. Um, there is, of course, the product design, and in here, I would say there is a lot of companies, for example, that make clothing like Nike. There is Louis Vuitton, there's Fisher Price, the game making company, Inc, Lego. Um, Going further, the automotive design industry, some of our biggest customers here, that would be BMW and Jaguar Land Rover. Actually, they are customers of the VRScans plugin as well, because that would be quite useful when you're designing the interior of a car and also the car paint. So they would be actually the real thing, because they would send us their actual samples from, for example, the fabric that they put on the chairs inside, and we would make that actual fabric that is in their catalog into a digital material. And when they use it to make the render, it would look exactly like the real thing. In gaming, we're mostly used for the cinematics, but not only. It could be for anything imaginable, basically. It could be for characters and creatures, or for this battles, or any animation that is in there. The top companies that I could that I've listed here for you would be Gameloft and Ubisoft, but of course there is others. In the VFX, also require the popular render from any heroes and creatures, vehicles, environments, basically anything that the imagination can think of. Vray has been helped making VFX for over 150 feature films and for series, such as, for example, the Game of Thrones series. That we all know for sure. So it really is production proven. And a lot of the big studios do use Vray. I have listed, of course, again, some of them here so you can see. But there's one thing that we are really proud of in this respect, and that is that Vlado actually um, won the Oscar Award for the technical contributions to the movie industry, the technical contributions of V-Ray, or as they put it, for the original concept design and implementation of V-Ray. Now, that was something quite impressive. Of course, there was other companies that got this Academy Award. For example, Arnold got the same award, but it was for the whole team. Whereas in our case, it was for Vlado personally and for his original concept design and implementation. So that is something that the company is quite proud of, and also makes us quite proud to be working for this company as well. So why choose V-Ray? So there's a couple of points that I will go through quickly. Of course, some of you that have used V-Ray will not need this, but let me just do it fast. So first of all, for the quality, because of the professional and the photoreal images, because of the power to handle big and complicated scenes and projects, because of the speed, um, of course, because of the control and the different features that you can use, or you can, if you want simplicity, you could go with the simplest UI and just do not go into those complicated features. And of course, the last one, because it has become an industry standard, and you would need some knowledge of Vray in order to be part of a big top VFX or architecture studio. Now, for the education bit, I have added some separate slides as well. Actually, our education licenses, they are commercial grade software, so they're exactly the same as the commercial ones. There's no difference, there's no watermark, there's no limitation. The upgrades of the educational licenses are free. So with the term license, you always get the access to the latest version. You get free technical support, and of course, you have access to House Group product-specific educational resources. Now, actually, there is a lot of that. So we do have training programs for most of our top used products. So that will be for Max and for SketchUp also. We do have materials for teachers that they can use to teach students in class. For actually, I think every lesson there is a typed material from us with very wide explanations, including the physics behind all of this. Um, Actually, there are more than 10,000 student licenses being active right now, more than 2,000 educator licenses in 1,000 educational institutions. Um, on the right, I have put some of the big universities or training centers that we work with over the world. Now, we also have Vray certifications. So if you would like to prove to the world that you are a Vray certified professional, you can pass an exam at some of our training centers and get a certificate for that. And you can be listed on Vray's, on Chaos Group's website. So that if someone doubts that, they can always go on our website and see that your name is there. We also have licenses for trainers and for the training centers, which is a bit of more complicated exam to pass. And we also have Vray mentors, or that would be trusted partners in spreading the Vray knowledge around the world. Um, a little bit more about the licensing now, just all of the types of licenses, not the educational ones only. So basically, our licensing is online licensing. You have to register on our website. You have to download our online license server from there and download your products from there. Um, You can use it offline too. You can borrow the licenses for 2 weeks at a time. And then you need a couple of seconds more of internet access to borrow again. So you can keep borrowing for forever, basically, if you need to be using the licenses on offline. Um, there is a couple of types of licenses. Of course, there's perpetual, annual, and there's educational. So the perpetual licenses that uh, we have, for example, they would have free upgrades for all the small versions. For example, for 3, 3.1, 3.2, 3.4. For the small versions, you get the free upgrade. But once it becomes, for example, version 4, then it is a paid upgrade. And the big versions releases, they happen roughly 2.5, 3 years apart. There is the other option to get annual licenses. The annual licenses of course, guarantee you the access to the newest version all of the time. And some of the products that we have, like collections and House Vantage video scans, they are only annual, so we do not offer perpetual for licenses for all of the products that we have. And you can always, for example, if you have some old licenses of Vray, like Vray 2 and Vray 3, there is an option for you to use that and trade it for getting an annual license with a discount. So if somebody here is interested in that and not using their old Vray anymore and wants to get a new one, you can contact WSI later and find out more about this. And of course, there is the educational and the university licenses. And there is two types of licenses in general. So that would be the workstation that contains the UI and a render node to it. And there could be purchased additional render nodes if you would like to increase your speed and you have a big volume of the images or videos to render. And another option to do the rendering would be through the cloud services, and you can get House Cloud credits. And now with each order, you get 20 free, so you can check it out and see if it works for you. It is actually simplified. It is a one-click integration with Vray. It is very fast and it is very convenient to use. And now we have the so-called self-service portal, which is extension of this cowsgroup.com account that you have. So when you log in there, if you have the self-service portal and you are a big organization like a university or a big company, this is something that could be very useful for you. This functionality will help people to divide the members of their organization into administrators and members, and the administrator would be able to add and remove users from the organization, to assign licenses to them or to revoke them, to assign House Cloud credits to them, assign quotas of credits to them, just monitor the usage of the credit pool that they have, um, etc., etc. If you are more interested about it, just ask about it later, and we can give you access so you can try and see if it works for you. There is no requirements for internet, for VPN, or for sharing credentials. Um, so I think this was basically it from me. I hope I did not bore you too much. Oh, that's not all for me. Wait a second. I need to say something, some words about our newest product, of course, the Cow's Vantage. So this would be a standalone application that has introduced real time within 100% ray trace environment. So you can actually render immediately in real time in Vray right now with House Vantage. This would be a standalone product now, and it has its own installation and format and licensing. And the good news is that it is free until June 2021. So you are welcome to go and try it and give us your feedback.